Hey everyone, welcome to episode number 34 of the New Slang Podcast. I'm Thomas Mooney, the editor-in-chief of New Slang here in Lubbock, Texas. And on this week's podcast, we're joined by Brad Rice. Brad, he's the drummer of Jason Boland The Stragglers, and he's been the drummer for, I guess, like 20 years now. Nearly 20 years. I think the band technically formed in 98, but we'll say 20 years. They were in Lubbock, I guess it was last Friday, and so we were fortunate enough to have Brad join us for about an hour. They were playing Charlie B's, and so we went to the green room in the back and had this conversation about Texas and Oklahoma music, what's happening in Nashville, the state of the Oklahoma City Thunder, a lot of other little things. If you've been, I guess, listening to the podcast since its inception, you've known and realized just how awkward and weird this intro is. And, there for a while I was just basically giving little tidbits of information of what was happening during the actual interview. And I always just felt that was kind of goofy and really just not necessary. And so I've been thinking of other ideas to what to do with this time that will be a little bit more beneficial for everyone. And so I guess I decided to try something out this week. People are always asking me what music I'm listening to, and typically, for the most part, I can never think of anything off the top of my head that I'm like, go listen to this, go listen to that. So anyways, we're going to start doing this, like, I don't know, top 5 thing that I'm, like, the records I'm listening to at the moment. And so 5 minutes before recording this, I wrote down 5 records that I've been listening to. So we'll try this out. This week I've been listening to the new Culture Wall record. It's a self-titled. He's a Canadian singer-songwriter. And the thing about, like, this record is it's Dave Cobb produced, so there's that. But one of the things I think that he's what makes this record kind of important is that, or at least like what one of the strong points of the record is that he's only 21 years old, and in a lot of ways he just doesn't know any better to like, he's not compromised, I guess. Like, he's not been told no by the music industry. So he's kind of like one of these, he's got this idea in his head that he wants to be like a Townes Van Zandt kind of songwriter. He wants to be a Woody Guthrie folk singer, a Mississippi Delta blues kind of guitar player. And so, like, that's what's in his head, and he's idealistic, I guess, is what I would say. And so, like, nobody's really ever told him no, that you can't do this, or this isn't gonna sell records. And so, like, that's probably the strongest part of this entire record, is that he's so absolute about the songwriting and the storytelling. And he's got one hell of a voice too. Like, it's like early Johnny Cash kind of style. And so yeah, that's one of the records I'm listening to. Number 2 on this list, it's the new Harry Styles record. A lot of people are probably going to try and give me flack for putting that down here and listening to it. But the record is damn good. He doesn't necessarily go through the same kind of transition that Justin Timberlake went through after he left NSYNC. Timberlake went to more being an R&B pop kind of guy, while this Harry Styles record is a little bit more singer-songwritery. It's a little bit more rock and roll. It kind of reminds me of, like, 90s Brit pop in a lot of ways. It's also kind of very, like, George Michael-ish. Kind of reminds me, it does have these, like, little weird moments that kind of remind me of Peter Gabriel. If you aren't really familiar with Peter Gabriel, I'm talking about, like, the post-Genesis era of Peter Gabriel. I would highly suggest going and getting any of his self-titled records of that era. Moving on my list, these are actually not even records, these next few things that I've written down, but one of my favorite bands that put out a record a couple years ago is Haim, and they've been working on this new record. They've just played SNL just last Saturday, and I don't know, there's probably like 2 or 3 singles out right now. One of them is called Right Now, and one of them is called Want You Back. Those are the ones that are on Spotify right now, at least. And I just find their sound incredible. They're one of these bands who I think they're kind of like 90s R&B mixed with Fleetwood Mac in a way. Kind of like, I know that sounds strange, but they do have these like little pop sensibilities of 90s R&B. You can tell that they listened to In Vogue growing up, but then they also have like a foundation of like Fleetwood Mac. So they're very single-longable, which I think like they're probably the one band out there who does the best job of doing the chorus lines where they're all singing kind of like different things at the same time, but it all makes sense, and they don't ever sound like they're just talking over each other. It's such a really cool and strange dynamic in their sound that I really, really like. And moving on to, I guess, number 4 on the list, Culberson County by Red Shahan. Like I said, this is not really an album. It's just a song. It's going to be on his new record that'll probably be out in the fall sometime. I believe that's when they're shooting for a new release date kind of thing. Anyways, he recorded this song down in when he was playing Luck Reunion a couple of months back. Bonnie Bishop is singing on the song as well, or at least on this version. I don't know if she's on the studio version. I'm sure she is, but at least for this video, she is. I guess without getting too far into the politics of it all, Culberson County, the song, it really resonates with me because, you know, in West Texas, there's a lot of hipsters and yuppies who are moving in and I guess like trying to make another claim on the land, even though people have been living there for generations, and it always feels like they try and make it where like they appreciate the I don't know, the area more so than people who have been living there for 100 years. And it just seems weird and strange to me. And that's what really the song's kind of about, is like protecting the places that you give a damn about. Yeah, we'll go ahead and just leave it at that. Number 5 on the list. It just came out yesterday, and that's If We Were Vampires by Jason Boland in the 400 unit. I'm not really going to talk too much about this song because I don't think like anything I say will even do justice to the song. I'll only really, I guess, say that the reason it's sad is just because of how beautiful it is. I think it's on Spotify and iTunes and whatnot now, so just go ahead and go listen to it. Go buy it. It's going to be on Jason's new record, and I think it's just one hell of a song. You know, as a bonus, I would just go ahead and say go listen to Temple of the Dog or Soundgarden or Audio Slave or any of the Chris Cornell solo records out there. Yesterday morning, whenever I woke up, that was the first thing I read. Somebody had sent me a message on Facebook, and I guess, like, you know, the first thing I did was go look on Twitter to see what he was even talking about. And yeah, it's just a shame that somebody like Chris Cornell would pass away so early. I guess it's been ruled a suicide at this moment, and yeah, rest in peace to Chris Cornell, and I hope, you know, that his family finds some kind of peace in this, what has to be such a hard time. If you like what you're hearing here on the New Slang Podcast, go ahead and tell all your friends and buddies and whatnot about us. Go ahead and give us a rating on iTunes if you haven't already, and go follow us on social media stuff. We're at _New Slang on Twitter and on Instagram. Facebook is just New Slang. And yeah, here's the interview with Brad.
nasally on this one here. Yeah, you guys been recording a new record. I've been seeing Instagram photos and
Yep, we sure have.
whatnot.
We started back in March, and Grant and I took about 4 days to get the rhythm tracks done. And while we track the drums and bass, we always track as a full band, and Boland is mainly doing scratch guitar, rhythm guitar, and vocal tracks. And some of the stuff might be keepers in terms of, say, like what Cody's playing on the rhythm electric guitar, or what Nick is doing some chops and grooves on the fiddle, chugging a long time. But mostly the lead instruments, they go back and do overdubs, and that's what they've been doing on and off for about the last 6 weeks. So we're Jason wanted to take more time with this album and to, not be set on any kind of arbitrary schedule. And we're working with Dave Percival and Adam Oder at Yellow Dog Studios, which is now right off the river in Wimberley. It's beautiful out there. And since we didn't use money to bring a bigger name producer in, like a Shooter Jennings or a Jim Ward, this time we're more or less self-producing. I'm sure it'll be listed with Dave and Adam as co-producers, because they're providing a lot of input. But for the most part, Jason has a vision on this album, and has so for the last few records. But I think he has a lot of respect for Shooter and Jim and Lloyd Maines, for that matter, and Mike McClure, all the guys that we've worked with, and Pete Anderson too. But we've also, been a band for almost 19 years now, and this, I believe, is the 9th studio album.
Yeah, I think it's like 9.
Yeah. So, we know what to do, more or less, and we're not going to, rewrite the book on studio recording by any means. We're just going to go in and try to make what we think is the best album that we can make right now.
Yeah. See, like I guess like last record, Squelch,
Mm-hmm.
like that had a lot more of a punk influence.
Yeah,
right?
for sure. And that's what Jim Ward brought to that record. And when Jason was writing for Squelch, he was listening to a lot of a band called Fear, New York punk, a lot of Ramones, and it just kind of followed the rabbit holes with hardcore and punk rock. And so you could definitely hear that on Squelch. And I think a lot of people didn't receive it as warmly as they have some of our other records, to put it nicely. And that's okay, because we have proved to at least ourselves that we're going to have some kind of longevity in this career, and there are going to be albums that aren't full of anthems that not everybody loves. So, but at the same time, I think Jason intends to be polarizing as a musician, and to force people who are listening to our music to step out of their element and say, why don't you try on this different pair of shoes for one song and see, what you think. And when you come and see the live show, I suppose it makes a little bit more sense, because we'll do kind of like a miniature rock set about a third of the way through the show, and kind of group all the country punk, cow punk, kind of butt rock. We have a lot of different influences, and I think a lot of the rock and roll ones kind of ooze out on a few different tunes that we do live. And for me, being a rock and roll drummer, those are the ones that I love playing the most. So
do you think that I don't know, like going down that rabbit hole per se, do you think like that was like you said, like you guys been doing this like 20 years basically, right? That it was more of a challenge, like looking for that challenge, seeking out and trying to find a challenge to write a certain way?
Yes.
Or do you think it was more, just not necessarily spur of the moment, but maybe a little bit of just this is what I was doing, and this is kind of just what
I
hit
think
me at the moment.
I think yes, mostly because Boland. How do I want to say this? Maybe it's more that he was just being moved by what he was listening to at the time. And, you know, when you do this for as long as we have, I think artists tend to worry about getting stuck in a rut and, you know, just rehashing the same style of songs. You know, Pearl Snaps, our first album, has always done really well, and that's what people like to hear. They enjoy coming out and, you know, catching a nostalgic feeling. And for the same reason I love playing those songs live too, because it makes me feel the same way. But at the same time, we have to please ourselves as a band as much as we have to please the people who come out and pay to see the show. Because if we feel like we're stale and stagnant on stage, that definitely translates to the crowd and they can see it. And so we have to keep it new and fresh for us too. And for a long time, I kind of feel like we had a new batch of songs that were expertly written, and we wanted to show them to the world. And sometimes you have to remember that it's taken a while to find an equilibrium between new material in the live show and old material. So, because you want to entertain the folks that came out, but Boland always says if it weren't for new music, then you wouldn't have, you know, favorite songs, because you would have just, there'd be this arbitrary set of songs that were out there forever, and that's all you had. So
Yeah, it is strange. Like I guess like it really goes into like just people always just never discovering music once they get past 25 or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just falling into the nostalgic, like what you listen to. And,
Sure.
And that's, I guess it goes to the whole, you know, music was better back then for everybody. Everyone says that kind of shit.
Yeah, I've gone through that too, and am kind of going through a phase where I'm revisiting like old jazz. And I've been a John Coltrane fan for a long time, but recently have been going back through, not going back through, I'm getting into Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie and Miles Davis, and listening to all these drummers like Jimmy Cobb and Roy Haynes and Philly Joe Jones. And I've been a fan of jazz for a long time, but I've never closely listened to it like I have been lately. And I do that with a lot of music. I mean, the first thing that I always hear when I listen to a song are the drums, and there's no change in that for me. And I guess I wouldn't want to, because I feel like I'm always trying to hear something new and different to me, whether it's music that's previously unexplored on my part, not just new releases on. I mean, I do love New Release Friday on iTunes for sure, but
You think Friday's better as a release date than the old Tuesday for
you know, it took me a while to come around to that, because for Tuesday releases, it kind of gave a little low-hanging fruit to, you know, the early to midweek doldrums for people that might need something to look forward to. But on the same token, it makes Friday and the weekend even cooler. So I understand why they did it. And I guess not everybody always releases on Friday. Sometimes you have singles that come out on Sunday afternoon, but
Yeah, I do think like there are some people who just release music whenever they want to,
right,
You know,
right.
and, like,
People that can, that,
Yeah.
you know, that maybe enjoy the social media buzz as opposed to kind of the now archaic platform of releasing an album where you drop a single and then chum the waters with maybe a video, and then I kind of like what John Mayer did with his most recent release, and he put out a full-length LP, but he did 3 independent releases with 4 tracks each, and it kind of gave you a chance to live with a smaller set of songs and digest it
in periods.
Yeah, sure, as opposed
meals,
to
courses, something like that. Yeah,
I'm not the world's biggest John Mayer fan, but I certainly respect what he does, and I like the kind of organic 80s sounding R&B stuff that he does. That Continuum album I thought was really good. Steve Jordan produced it. He's the drummer who plays on it. He was the drummer in the Blues Brothers band. So
okay. See, I've never really gotten into John Mayer. I know like a lot of people have, and I know a lot of people who are playing music now have always have cited them as influences, like even like Flatline Cavalry.
Yeah,
like they're one of the biggest fans of John Mayer. It's like say equal parts Turnpike and Mayer for them as far as like what they're fans of. And I don't know, like I guess like it with Mayer, I think it sometimes depends on when you first are introduced to an artist. So whenever I was 12, 13, the Mayer that I was introduced to was, like Daughters era. So like pop era, you know what I mean? Versus like a blues or a rock and roll era.
Yeah, now he's even getting into more jammy stuff, playing with the Grateful Dead on their last round of shows. Not all of them, but and Grant, our bass player, is a huge Deadhead and made it up to the Chicago show that they did, and Trey Anastasio was filling the Jerry Garcia role that night, but he kind of gained a consensus from a lot of Deadheads at the show and online that said that John Mayer did a great job. And of course you can go listen to the live recordings and watch the DVDs and stuff now, but DVDs, I'm an old guy. I call videos DVDs.
Yeah, that's something that I don't think, or I don't know if a lot of bands are doing now, is the live DVD with the CD. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Excuse me. A lot of people have asked us over the years if we're gonna ever release a DVD concert, and Jason has said, maybe not seriously, but just to at least placate people, that maybe we'll do it when we hit our 20-year anniversary. And I think it'd be cool, and maybe there has been some talk about doing some kind of a documentary. I think people seem to connect with that this day and age as much or more than they would with a concert DVD. I mean, we're a band that plays a lot of shows a year, so you can come out and see us.
Yeah.
And we might kind of stick to our region for 75% of the year, but we make it out to the West and the East Coast, and Jason has another show run coming up with Shooter on the East Coast at the end of the year. So,
so talking about the getting outside of this region, the Texas, Oklahoma music region, I think like a lot of bands, it's when you first start out, it's an easy place to tour around. You've got a system already set in place, if you will. But at some point, do you think a lot of these bands are becoming complacent, or like even finding it hard to get out onto the West Coast, the East Coast, just because they've branded themselves as Texas country?
I think Texas is such a big state, and there are so many venues that are supportive of what Texas country artists are doing, that a lot of bands that are trying to get started, they either A, have a hard enough time trying to find shows in Texas, or B, they don't have to leave Texas because there are so many places to play. I will say that when the Stragglers formed in '98, this scene was a lot different than it is now. It was a lot more about independent songwriting, and that's not a criticism. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe for the younger bands that are in this scene now, that it has become a little less about songwriting and waving a flag of the independent spirit and more about being a diving board to something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Granger Smith was quoted in an article saying that he appreciated his time in the minor leagues, meaning the Texas country music scene, but, you know, we're on to bigger and better things. And a lot of people got upset with that. And I mean, I didn't find anything wrong with it. If anything, he was being honest, and I appreciate that above and all most things.
Yeah.
So
I think he could have said it in a lot better way.
sure, he could have been
But when it came down to it, like he wasn't not speaking the truth in a lot of ways.
He was trying to tip his hat to Texas, and he kind of it just was an underhanded compliment, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know, those guys are great, and his band is good. Shout out to Dusty Saxon. That guy is an incredible drummer. But as far as the scene goes, just when I feel like, you know, it has become only the quote unquote minor leagues for Nashville, I see bands like Cody West, these guys that are playing with us tonight. They're great. Of course, Turnpike they're on a meteoric rise and have been for a while, and that is so neat to see, because they're such a nice group of people, and they're very good at what they do, and it's cool when something that's good also becomes the cool thing, and that doesn't happen very often, but those guys are authentic.
Yeah, well, that's what it is, right? Is that it's great to see the authentic, like you said before. When the scene started out, it was more about songwriting. Those guys are about songs more than
they are, for sure.
Maybe anyone in this area. You know what I mean?
I agree.
As far as being just true to a song more than anything else, and you know that doesn't necessarily always work for everybody to get. That doesn't mean, like, what I'm saying. I guess the winners don't always dictate that. You know what I mean? Like the high risers, but
it is good to see. Being the most talented band doesn't always mean that you're going to be successful. You know? More times it's the opposite way. You know, I've seen a lot of really good bands that nobody has ever heard of. My band might be one of those bands. You know, I mean, regionally people know who the Stragglers are, but that's a whole different can of worms. So.
Well, you know, do you think that part of the reason why 20 years ago people were more about songwriting, the storytelling, is just because y'all's lineage from being from Oklahoma, just years and years and years and years back, all go to a guy like Woody Guthrie, who was like
That's a good
more
question.
of a storyteller than a performer, if you will.
That's a good question. I've never really thought about that. I wonder if it's... Sometimes I wonder if it's that reading isn't cool anymore. That we joke on the bus, and I mean, it's not just us on the bus. Social media jokes about it, that idiocracy is happening.
Yeah.
And I think Mike Judge said Idiocracy wasn't meant to be a how-to video or how-to instructional manual. And I guess that's the most pessimistic way to look at pop culture.
Yeah.
But, you know, there are nuggets that are awesome and full of wisdom in everything that's out there. You just have to look and find them. And the internet has made that. I think that's probably the greatest reason, aside from the fact that Jason is a great songwriter, that we've been able to maintain longevity in the music industry is that people can find us and we can directly find them. There is no middleman anymore.
Yeah. I guess, did you read that article a couple of days ago? Somebody wrote out about how, I think like the title, the headline was, "The music industry is killing itself." Did you read that article?
No, I didn't read it.
Well, there was an article, and it's basically the same as every other article that you've read about the music industry dying. And I don't know, like I guess like the one thing I wonder about whenever I see people share these articles and say the music industry is dying, you can't make a living at it, yada, yada, yada. It's always like, this sounds really harsh, but I always think like, do these people think they would have been signed back in the 70s or in the 60s? And like that's may sound cruel, but like it's not necessarily that everybody was signed in the 70s or in the 60s. It was still major top heavy. It was a top heavy. And if anything, the digital age has made it possible for indie rock to survive and any kind of indie music.
And for anybody and everybody to record an album and stick it out there into the ether and allow people to criticize it, enjoy it, do whatever folks do with media. And that's kind of weird. I've read a lot of the dystopian novels, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist per se or anything, but we definitely live in a strange time. And I don't know, I got off topic there.
Oh, it is a strange time. I always think it's either like one of two things. I always think is like, yeah, we're living in a horrible mess and like shit's just rolling down, or that like every generation thought it was the last generation.
Sure, I think it might be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
The greatest generation says they were the greatest generation. They were so arrogant that I don't know that they named themselves that, but I just realized the other day that I am technically a millennial. I turned 40 on the 24th of April, and somebody sent me an article that said that there are differing opinions out there as to when millennials start. But I was born in 77, and the article that they sent me said that millennials start at 1977. I definitely identify with Generation X or Y rather more than anything, but
yeah. See, I've read like it was like 85 or something like that.
See, that makes a lot more sense to me. 85.
Like the break off.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and I don't even. I was born in 87, so
you're definitely a millennial.
Yeah, but like there's times where I'm like, I feel like the old man in the group. I'm like, which I guess there has to be an old man,
sure,
cranky.
Somebody has to share their wisdom
in that group. But I don't know. It's like some of the things you see online now. I think like the biggest thing online that drives me crazy is just like we're all in our own echo chambers.
Oh, no doubt.
And that's probably the one thing about social media that bothers me more than anything else is that we're all just like we're all in our own little echo chambers, and we all made it that way. You know what I mean? Like if you don't like something somebody's heard, well, you
can go call somebody a dick for not liking it. Yeah, man, I've been as guilty or guiltier than anybody of being an asshole on the internet.
Yeah,
and not so much trolling around and trying to be an ultimate dick, but I definitely have enjoyed kind of stirring the pot, trying to make people think. And it's taken me a while to figure out how to pull some of the edge off of that and not be so off-putting to people. And because I think a lot of people that if they only know me from my Twitter profile, they probably think I'm a real big dick. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't fault them for thinking that. So I have tried to do a better job in the last couple of years of representing who I am on social media and not just using it as a a soapbox when I'm pissed off about something.
Yeah.
So,
Well, see, that is the part about it. Like, someone's going to hear this and go, when they're going to take what I said just a minute ago about, like, everyone using it as an echo chamber. And they're going to go, well, he's a hypocrite. And I'm
Sure.
fully aware that this is
Yeah.
a hypocritical thing. Like, that's the only reason I think I know, about, like, I realize is because everyone has been an asshole on the internet.
you have to be an authority to be an author. I mean, that's what it means, right? So you have to be involved in it to fully understand it, and only then would you be a douchebag if you didn't admit and weren't honest, saying that, yeah, sure, I'm using it for the same thing.
Yeah.
And that's really my main beef with people, is when they believe their own bullshit and they won't admit behind the curtain that, I'm doing this to make money or to fulfill insecurities that I've been plagued with all my life, for whatever reason that people do things that they do.
Yeah.
But if you're honest, shit, man, I can't fault you for it.
Well, hopefully not. I don't know. Like, I do think that we live in the most interesting of times, at least.
I agree. I mean, there's so much information that's out there right now, and it is difficult to sift through the multitude of what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if you're an intelligent, free-thinking person who likes to read and still supplement some of that time with reading a book, then you can discern what's bullshit and what's not.
Yeah.
And
Are you a fan of Elon Musk? Any?
am I a fan of what?
Elon Musk?
I really don't know much about him other than that he's the cat that's trying to get to space again, right?
Yeah. He's the guy who's trying to do everything. He's got, like, he thinks like we're all living in a simulation. Like we're just somebody's
Like
school
the Matrix.
seventh grade art project
Okay.
or something. Like even that simple. Like so many years from now, thousands and thousands of years from now, like we're just in some simulation, and I don't think that's what it is. But like, there's been so many strange things that have happened these the last year, like especially in sports, that I go, well, I mean, maybe like we're like the Cubs winning, the Patriots coming back from I don't know how many damn
those are
points.
definitely two
like
pretty
there's
impactful.
Alabama football getting beat. All of these little.
I kind of enjoyed that. I mean, not like Schadenfreude or anything, but and it's not like Clemson is an underdog either. But
Yeah.
sometimes it gets tired or it gets old seeing the same old team win over and over. And I mean, Alabama is a great football team, and Nick Saban is one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. But Nick, our fiddle player, had a hard time getting behind Clemson because the coach's name is Dabo,
Yeah.
and he doesn't like that. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. You want to talk about sports?
Sure,
Aren't you a Thunder fan?
I love the Thunder. I do. Basketball is my favorite sport. It's the only sport that I was really ever good at. I played soccer when I was in elementary school and played basketball up until middle school. And that was about the point when I started getting more interested in music than sports, and kind of forked off and stuck with music. But I've always maintained a fan relationship with the game of basketball, and I love college football as well. I'm a Thunder fan and an Oklahoma State Cowboy fan. So
Yeah. Okay, so make your Westbrook MVP case.
my appealing for him to win the MVP. I think that the MVP award really is about the one player that makes a team viable in the league. And I really believe, and this is not a knock on the rest of the Thunder as a team, but I believe that if you took Westbrook away from the Thunder, that team would fucking suck. It would not. Yeah. They would have had a lopsided record, would have had zero chance of being in the playoffs without him. And it definitely, from a fan's perspective, an Okie fan perspective, it hurt when Kevin Durant left, and especially that he left for the Golden State Warriors. But I completely understand why he had to leave, and I think that more than anything, that opened Westbrook's game up, and he's going to have to find some kind of a compromise. They're going to have to find somebody to. They are lacking a small forward, and I don't know who they would replace Kevin Durant with. I mean, they're definitely developing some guys, but I would kind of selfishly like to see Blake Griffin come back to Oklahoma.
Yeah, well, I bet he opts out this year. He may be a free agent, maybe a sign-in trade of some sort.
Yeah, I've definitely seen some of the Oklahoma sports writers mention that and kind of give you the what-if scenarios.
Yeah.
And he's definitely not an offensive-minded player like Durant is, but he's an imposing presence, and I think they just need another veteran.
Yeah. Well, see, I think going to Blake Griffin, the Clippers, I don't think like the parts ever really fit well enough to really work. The Chris Paul and the Blake Griffin aspects didn't fit as well as you would hope, you know. In a way, like Blake is also kind of a ball dominant four. He's a great passer. Now, you may say like there's a little bit of some conflict between him and Russ as far as ball dominant guys, but like you also have to have Russ, like this last season, dominated the ball in a way that we've never seen before.
Yeah, he set records.
Yeah,
for user percentage or usage.
Yeah. For usage, like PER, obviously the triple double, which I don't like. The triple double thing, I don't think is as big of a deal as a lot of people have made it out to be, because now obviously averaging, what did he average, like almost 30, 10 and 10 or 11 and 10, something like that.
He averaged 30, 10 and
10. That is really remarkable. But just the mere fact that it's a triple double, I don't really think carries that much weight, because it didn't really become a thing until the 80s. And if you think about it this way, had the triple double, the idea of the triple double, been around since the beginning of basketball, I think you would have seen Magic and Bird race for that. So like, I'm not saying like that's not a knock on, in my opinion, saying that like he shouldn't win it because of that. But I do think like if you're arguing, it's not a good argument just for the triple double aspect, if you will.
Yeah,
I think he's gonna win, but I don't.
I think you can blame the whole focus on statistics on sabermetrics in baseball.
Yeah,
I think once they realized that there was viability in understanding the analytical side of
Moneyball,
the game, yeah, for sure. I think that has driven the fascination and the preoccupation with knowing every stat and the importance of stats up. So
I do think it has made basketball better, just like the analytical aspect of sports. It has made us think about like what shots are better. That has dictated, like, look at Golden State's offense. Like, it's beautiful to watch. Like they're way better at playing offense than many other, like, just in comparison. Like, look at even the Rockets are not that really. I guess like that's an argument against it though. Like if the argument for analytics is that it's made Golden State better. It's made like the Spurs a better offense to watch.
And it's also educated fans more as to what happens in a game. And
Yeah.
I think by and large it's probably a good thing for the game. But I'm kind of like you. I don't necessarily think the triple-double thing is that big of a deal. It made me, I mean, it didn't make me follow the games any more or less than I already would have.
Yeah.
But
See, to me, it was way more for the casual fan. And obviously, like, if you're the Oklahoma City Thunder, you definitely market and push for that just to get the more casual fan. If you're the NBA, you push for that. But I think if that's part of your basis for Russ being the MVP, just because he second person in the NBA to average a triple-double, I think that's kind of it's not that necessarily the biggest thing in the world.
The thing that I do think is cool that comes from behind that is that it caused a lot of people who aren't fans of the Thunder to root for Westbrook.
Yeah.
And he got some standing ovations at some of the road games towards the end of the season where he got the triple-double.
There was a couple of games where like they were like rooting for him.
Yeah,
like, in opposing away buildings, which was, I think, like, did they play the Nets and like the Nets were going crazy for him?
Yeah,
something like that. Or the Suns, I know were.
Phoenix did. I'm not sure if the Nets did or not. Phoenix is the one that I know about for sure. But I mean, he's definitely a larger than life basketball player, and he's also a polarizing person. I mean, a lot of people hate him because he plays with such raw emotion. That's why I love him the most. If Westbrook played on a different team, I would love him as much as I do now because he has such an incredible dedication to the game of basketball.
Yeah.
Now, he'd drive me crazy when he was beating up on the Thunder if he played for the Spurs or Golden State, but I'm not one of those Thunder fans that went and trash talked Kevin Durant on Twitter when he left. In fact, I actually made a plea to Thunder fans asking that they didn't act like a bunch of childish assholes, that it's a game, it's a business, and that he had to do what was right for him.
Yeah.
And you know, it seems like it's come out more now that there just wasn't enough room on that roster for Durant and Westbrook.
Yeah.
And look at what happened when he left. He had this incredible season. So I'm sure if you asked Westbrook, he would say that he was disappointed that they didn't get past Houston in the first round, but I think he's probably the kind of guy that can leave that shit on the court and just move on. I mean,
yeah, well,
he's getting with life. There is life outside of the NBA for those guys.
He's getting paid more as well now. He's getting a bigger slice of the pot.
He's making a lot of money. He is one of the most salient presences in all of sports.
Yeah.
A lot of people know who he is.
Yeah, I do think that like fandom, just in general, I guess like, and I guess that's part of like what makes fans is that they're irrational overall.
Absolutely,
but
I'm
like,
the worst about that. I mean,
I think like I guess the older I've gotten, the more I've understood that when it comes down to it, one, it's a business. Two, like some of the rules of sports, they're just arbitrary rules for the game itself, but then in general around the sport. Like one of the things I heard in an argument for Durant, for like players just moving, is that name another profession that, you know, to play or to be to be hired this way, you're drafted and you're made to go play for a certain team and live in a certain city. You know, like there's no other profession like that other than sports.
You have very little control over your own destiny when it comes to, like in Durant's case, he was drafted by the Seattle SuperSonics, and then group from Oklahoma bought the team, and so he moved to Oklahoma City, and he had probably no say in that matter whatsoever.
Yeah.
And when he did have say-so in it, he finally decided, well, I feel like I've put my time in here and done what I can for this team and this city, and, I would like to move on.
Yeah.
And
Going back to like Oklahoma, I think like the differences between the Oklahoma and Texas songwriter is really it's really interesting to see the differences. And I think it all goes down to, like I was saying earlier, is that you guys all kind of go from like a Woody Guthrie place, stem from that tree, while I think a lot of Texas guys, especially lately, have there's definitely a little bit more of a rock influence. Mm-hmm. But like I think I'm trying to find a way to say this nicely or nicer. I think like Oklahoma songwriting is better than what's happening in Texas the last 15 years, 10 years.
I'm not sure. I don't think I disagree with that, but at the same time, I think that there are a lot of substantive songs that are coming out of Texas. For instance, I love John Bauman. That guy has a way with words, and he has an authenticity in his songs that it comes through when you sit down and give it a listen. And that's what I think most people are shooting for when they sit down to write, but not everybody knows how to do that so well. But as far as Oklahoma songwriters being better than Texas songwriters, if there's a reason for that, maybe it's because Oklahoma is a little smaller, it's more isolated, there are fewer urban centers, and I could say cities. There's fewer cities. But I don't know, I would hate to agree with you and piss off a lot of Texans, but I just won't disagree with you.
I do think it has something to do with the isolation, a little bit more down home, a little bit more of a there being less to do.
Yeah,
per se.
You have football, or I wouldn't just say football or music. I mean, that makes Oklahoma sound really small and pedestrian, but those are definitely two of the biggest things that I know of.
How about like religion?
Religion's a huge thing in Oklahoma. I grew up in the Lutheran church, was pretty active in the church for years and years. I, at one point in my life, considered going into the seminary, in fact. But I don't know. Maybe the church influence comes through in like gospel, and because music is always a big thing in church.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that Texas is devoid of
Yeah.
churches and music, but maybe it's one of the more central focuses in people's lives there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, see, what I was thinking is like, if you take like a guy like Fulbright or Moreland or like Parker Millsap, like I feel that kind of strain of songwriter from Oklahoma, the Pentecostal aspects are a lot heavier than most Texas guys, or like even like the Texas singer songwriter, and I mean like more
stereotypically.
Yeah, like
I'm with you. I think maybe the Oklahoma guys, and especially the ones that you're mentioning, are more interested in telling stories than they are selling songs and having a big following. And I guess it depends on what your goal is. Do you want commercial success, or do you want critical success and laud and praise from your peers? And you mentioned Fulbright. He was nominated for a Grammy. But if you polled the average Texan who likes this music scene, do you know these names, and just said John Fulbright or Josh Abbott. I'm willing to bet a lot more people would know who Josh Abbott are versus John Fulbright.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Josh Abbott doesn't have a Grammy nomination. And again, that's not a knock on Josh Abbott. That's just a name I pulled out of the air. Those guys are great, and I think they put a good show on. And they draw a lot of people. Probably much bigger crowds than Fulbright does. But I don't think Fulbright cares about commercial success. I think he's going a different route. I call it the NPR route.
Yeah.
You know, because if you are one of the musical guests on Prairie Home Companion, or you get interviewed by Terry Gross on Fresh Air, I feel like there is something more substantive about your music than if you're getting write-ups in Rolling Stone and features in USA Today or shit like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's and you know, maybe it's also more the difference now between Texas country and Americana. And it's like Americana has existed for years and years, but now it's kind of being rebranded, and two worlds are colliding, because a lot of the, what I would say, better bands in the Texas scene right now, I'd call them more Americana than I would country.
Well, I guess like that's the when I say like the Oklahoma songwriter is better than the Texas songwriter, I'm, you know, I guess in my head I'm excluding guys like Bauman, not necessarily because like, I don't know, it's the Texas singer-songwriter versus like the Texas country singer-songwriter are two different things. Just probably the same way that you would say the Oklahoma songwriter is versus I guess Texas is kind of absorbed Red Dirt in a way, but as far as like the usage,
I hate that too, because Red Dirt traditionally is not what people are calling Red Dirt now.
Yeah.
And I had to kind of come to terms with that. But to me and to the guys in the Stragglers and a lot of our buddies that we've been running with for a long time, Red Dirt means Bob Childers, Tom Skinner, Jimmy LaFave, Randy Crouch, the Red Dirt Rangers, and a lot of the people that I hear using the term Red Dirt, I don't think they know who those bands are.
Yeah.
And I know that things evolve, and I sound like a codger who's saying, "Oh, it's my day," but that does bother me, that Red Dirt has been kind of usurped and bastardized, because it used to be something that was very pure and kind of founded by Woody Guthrie. You've mentioned him a lot today. So, and when a band like the Casey Donahue band gets called Red Dirt, it makes my hair stand up a little bit. And I've got nothing against that band or any band that's out there, but it might, on the same token, I don't like that they call what's on country radio country. It's fucking soccer mom pop or Disney shit.
Yeah. Oh, I use the term Walmart country.
Walmart country, okay.
That's a
bro country, whatever you want to call it. It's not country. I wrote my senior thesis. I graduated from college about a year ago, and I wrote my paper on how country music has changed from a substantive, authentic art form into more or less a pile of shit. And that's not just my opinion. I believe that you can stand back and calmly extrapolate the facts, which are Johnny Cash and Jimmy Rogers and Graham Parsons had a lot more to say than Florida Georgia Line, Luke Bryan, and
Whoever.
you know, yeah, just insert a name. I got to use have you seen that? It's on YouTube. There's a Nashville engineer who took like 8 or 9 number 1 hits, and laid it into Pro Tools, and like the beginning of the introduction is from one song, and then a quarter of the first verse is from another song, and then they just keep inserting different songs, and it's ridiculous how the only thing I think he had to do was to modulate a couple of them that were in different keys. But the thing that gets me the most is when you get to the guitar solo. It's so generic and so awful that it sounds so perfect that if you hadn't been told that those were 6 different guitar solos, you wouldn't have known.
Yeah. See, I think the problem with if you just had to like have one reason why country music has gone downhill, you can pinpoint it with this one single thing, and that is instead of following what country music has been for the last 100 years, they followed the fan that goes, I'm not a country fan, but I like insert this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's what they've been chasing for the last 15 years, has been can we get that fan? More so than having fan. They've isolated their entire...
I think you're right. And I also think what they have done is they have taken the folks from my generation. I graduated high school in 1995 and listened to like Hootie and the Blowfish and shit like that. And they have marketed to my generation. And if you think, I mean, like even Darius Rucker is a country artist now.
Yeah.
And the music isn't all that different than, say, like 90s, not pop, but just rock.
Like
I
the
guess.
alternative
Roots
rock, yeah.
Alternative rock. The instrumentation is different, but I mean, even some of the same producers, like Mutt Lange was a big Def Leppard producer, and he produced all the Shania Twain shit. And, they're more or less borrowing on the success that was made by bands like Warrant and Poison and remarketing it as Southern and country. And
and it also goes into the anti-intellectualism. Yeah. It's like, let's talk about country roads and like just redneck shit.
Yeah.
As like, and there's nothing wrong with all the things that they're necessarily talking about, but it's one of those where rednecks, for lack of a better term, think that it's that's a good thing. It's like, well, I mean, like, it's cool, but then also, you know, who was Southern too is like William Faulkner.
No doubt.
You know, so maybe you can also be educated and know something.
I think that goes back to the whole idiocracy prophecy happening. Yeah. And I don't think that that's altogether true. I just think that we've all got a bunch of new toys that we're distracted by right now. And once the shine wears off from that, I think we might kind of rein it back in. I heard a guy talking the other day how he was saying, you know, they took food away from us for a while, and now we're kind of slowly taking that back. And they being the, you know, Big Brother, what have yous. But we just need to take music back. And I think it's happening. I think that the internet is really fucking with record labels' is bottom line, the big ones at least. Because nobody has to buy music anymore. And so now they're trying to take money from touring, because that's truly where money is made in the music industry now. And if you're a big giant act, you can afford to, sign away some of your, or allow somebody to take a bigger percentage of your touring, because you're told up front that you're going to make, $50 million because you're Madonna.
Yeah. Well, see, that's what I said on the going back to that whole article being shared around was that since there are more indie rock or there's just more indie bands, there's more bands in general. People are buying less records, but they're buying more of the bottom half than the top half.
Yeah,
than
it's redistribution of musical wealth.
Yeah,
more
exactly.
Or less.
Yeah.
Socialism is happening in music.
Yeah.
And I think that's fine because we've never stood to make millions anyway. We've always been of the grassroots approach, and so it's never, the internet hasn't fucked with this band's bottom line. It's made it. That and just years of touring.
Yeah. Going back to the, you guys have been playing for almost 20 years now. When you first start out, I guess, have you guys realized you guys have taken the place of as being, instead of being the younger up and coming band, as being the elder statesman, if you will?
Sure. And
have you noticed that
I think
difference?
there's nothing that's more embarrassing than seeing somebody who doesn't realize when that's happened. And maybe in Jason's case, it was easier because he went gray when he was 30. But I think that it's an honor to be there, because that means to somebody that we have somehow influenced them in some way or another. And to me, that's why you do it, is to move people and to become a part of their lives. And that the greatest compliment that I think that musicians can ever get, aside from that your song made me cry, is that your music has helped me in this way. And I've had a lot of people come up and say on Jason's behalf that this song or that song helped them through some of the hardest times, and it's usually Proud Souls or Somewhere Down in Texas, or because those really touch people and they just connect with the authenticity and what he's saying. So yeah.
I was going to ask one more question.
Thank you, buddy. You're the best.
Before we get out, early on in y'all's career, you guys did do a whole lot of, I guess, like Bob Childers songs. You did Tom Skinner songs on the records. I don't know if you see that as often anymore. Like people doing, not necessarily unknown people, but like the people where they were influenced by.
Sure.
Like how many people are still throwing on like a Guy Clark cover or something like that on records.
We didn't do one on Squelch, and didn't necessarily get called out, but I had a couple of people that asked what Crouch or what Bob Childers tune did you do on this album, and I said we didn't do one. And a couple of people kind of gave me the sideways eyes, or gave us the sideways eyes. And really on Squelch, it just came down to time management. We straight up ran out of time, and we tracked too many songs and then couldn't mix them all. And we ended up tracking like 17 songs when we did Squelch, and there's, I think, 11 or 12 on the record. But there is a Randy Crouch song on the album that we are in the process of recording right now, and I won't tell you what the name of it is, but I will tell you that it is the trippiest, most out there shit that we have ever recorded. There were some Instagram videos that we posted of Cody playing the voice tube on a steel guitar, and did some crazy shit with Leslie's modulating the sound and making some noise. Kind of, it's a it's a really neat song to begin with, and we basically just kind of went to the moon with this one. And I'm sure some people will think, wow, that's really weird, and other people will think that's the coolest Straggler song I've ever heard. So
Yeah.
and everybody's not gonna like everything, but I challenge you not to be at least interested by the crouch tunes that's on. And I haven't even heard probably half of what's on there now. They've done a lot of overdubbing, and I've been up in Oklahoma working and welding, and I'll go back down probably the week after next to do percussion overdubs and then sing the harmony vocals. So
Yeah.
I should have a better idea.
Yeah. When are you guys thinking it'll be ready to be released and everything?
Let's see, we're in May right now. Man, it'd be ambitious to say it's going to come out this year. If it doesn't come out this year, it's going to be early in 2018.
Yeah.
Which puts us pretty close to. We try to put something out there every couple of years, and the idea after we put Squelch out, Jason was thinking about doing a live album, and then he had already had a couple of songs that he was working on when we recorded Squelch, and he just kind of maybe stayed in that writing mode and ended up with just more than enough material to go in and do another studio album. So
Yeah.
we will do another live album, I would imagine, but that might be a couple of years away. So from now, I'd say probably like 9 months,
Yeah.
and the next one will be out, and I'm not sure what it's called yet. So
Awesome. Well, I don't know. You ready to get done here? We've
Sure,
hit
man.
right over an hour now.
okay,
I'll go ahead and let you get out and go eat and get
Yeah,
ready, all that kind of good
I
stuff.
do need to eat some dinner.
So, well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you asking.